Okay, so today we are talking about one of my favorite topics, a box truck versus a dump truck or dump trailer. I have debated this many times over the years, and it's always a fun one. So let's take a look at the difference. Okay, so what is the best setup for a junk removal business in 2026 in terms of a box truck versus a dump truck or dump trailer? I'm really focusing on startup, not established. So this is really meant for the people that are thinking about or just starting in this business. So, which setup actually makes more money? That really is the key here. Most owners start with a truck and a trailer. And as I mentioned, if you're just starting off or thinking about starting off and you're trying to save money, the most likely setup is a pickup truck and a standard trailer, not even a dump trailer, because the cost is pretty significant. You're talking $1,500 versus $15,000. So, a lot of guys out there are going to start with a regular trailer, not a dump trailer. Okay, so it feels cheaper and easier because it is. The best setup, though, depends on your volume, your services, your market, and your growth goals. The wrong setup quietly costs you time, fuel, and labor, and it costs you the jobs that you simply cannot fit. So, dump trailer is the lower startup cost. Box truck is more long term efficient, though. So, you want to weigh those options out. Every setup trades one for the other. The real question is which one your business needs right now. So, why dump trailers are so popular? Number one is the lower startup cost. If you went and bought a brand new, really nice dump trailer, you can get one, an 8 by 20 for $15,000 to $20,000, depending on the manufacturer, where you're located, and the features that you have on there. It's much easier to find used, by the way. These are everywhere. They're easier to tow. They're great for heavy debris. They're easier to unload, and it fits owner operator lifestyles. Why? Because you can simply disconnect your trailer and now you've got your truck you can drive around town. I don't think many people are going to want to take the family for a nice dinner and a movie in the box truck. But if you have a truck and a trailer, very easy to disconnect that trailer and off you go. So a dump trailer can be a great starting point, but it is not always the best scaling tool. Why is that? Well, let's first talk about the advantages. It's a lower upfront investment. It dumps itself, so it's easy to unload. You literally press a button. It's built for concrete, dirt, shingles, brush, and demo. It's flexible if you already own a capable towing vehicle. A lot of guys and girls get in this business, they already have a truck. I spoke with Spence and Dave a couple of days ago out of Columbia, South Carolina, and they started off with a Jeep. Doesn't have to be a traditional pickup truck. I wouldn't recommend your hatchback or your luxury sedan, but it doesn't have to be an actual truck. I've seen SUVs, I've seen Jeeps. So if you already have one of those kind of vehicles that can tow a dump trailer, there you go. Huge advantage there. Where dump trailers start to hurt you is limited capacity versus a box truck. For example, our box trucks are 20 feet long, 8 feet tall, 8 feet wide, and they all have lift gates. They also have the safety bars that run parallel inside the truck, which is great because then if we have nice things, which you're going to get 10 to 20% of the time, you can ratchet strap that inside the truck and off you go. You don't have to worry about taking a sharp turn, hitting the brakes, and that nice piece of furniture you were trying to save gets demolished or gets scratched up. That's one of the biggest advantages of a box truck. Our business, we donate a lot of items. So we try to keep everything in good condition if it's donatable. We hate taking things to the landfill unless it's in really bad condition. It can also look less professional. Having said that, I've said this many times. The truth is, when most people are looking to get rid of their junk, they don't really care. If you pull up with a hearse, you could pull up with an old hoopty and a trailer. Most people really don't care. Now, where it does start to matter is if you live in an area or service areas that are very wealthy zip codes, they don't really want you driving around with your hoopty and an old busted up trailer. Will they still give you the business? Yes, but they may not want you to come back. If you pull up though, and you've got a nice new vehicle or something that looks new ish and you keep it well maintained, it's branded, your people are in uniform, that does make a difference. It looks much more professional. You need a strong tow vehicle to run safely. When you start doing construction debris jobs and you're pulling out a bunch of drywall, concrete, bricks, and wood, that stuff gets heavy quick. So you need a really good 3/4 ton, 1 ton vehicle to pull that kind of stuff. It often means more dump runs. The average dump truck, we hold about 3 times that volume. The main thing our guys love about box trucks is that they can hit the road first thing in the morning and not have to go to the landfill one time. And they can still do $2,000, $3,000 a day just with that one truck. So that's one of the biggest advantages is that it's less dump runs. The less times you have to go to the landfill, recycle center, or the transfer station, the better, because that's more time on the road. If the average dump truck has a busy day and hits the landfill 3 times a day, how many hours do you think you have spent just going back and forth, waiting in line, emptying? You're probably going to kill 2 to 3 hours a day. So an extra 2 to 3 hours is significant in terms of the revenue you can produce if you're not having to do that. The other thing is everything is exposed to the weather. Yes, you may have a tarp, usually a netted tarp on there, but it's still exposed to the weather in a way that a box truck is not. A box truck is so much better in that sense. More towing liability and tighter maneuvering. That's one of the other big things to consider is it's much harder to get someone acclimated and trained to a truck and a trailer. For those of you seasoned veterans that are laughing right now, I totally get it. If you have backed up a truck and trailer many, many, many times, I get it. It's second nature. But think of someone that's brand new, that's never done it before. If someone has never done this, the learning curve for those people, it's much steeper than it is for someone to hop in a box truck. A box truck is much easier to operate, back up, maneuver around tight turns versus a truck and trailer. So why we became box truck believers, more capacity per trip is a game changer. When your guys can be on the road the entire day, not having to go back and forth to the landfill. So there's times that one crew in that one truck is going to do $3,000 or more in a day. And we've got multiple of those 20-foot box trucks running. Plus, we've got our dump truck. Plus, we have our truck and trailer. So when we're busy, you're talking big, big dollars. It's not uncommon to see a $10,000 to $20,000 day because we have the capacity to do that. It's better branding and it's a much more professional look. The other thing is, as I've mentioned, it's much easier to protect these reusable items because we get so many things that we donate and repurpose. So it opens up donation and flipping revenue, which is great because you're keeping it in the local community. It's priced lower because it's gently used, but you're helping the local community and you're keeping it out of the landfill. These also stay on the road longer before you have to empty them. Huge advantage. Guys, when you have a lift gate on the back of a box truck, truly it is a game changer. And the reason is simple because one person can go out there and do the job of a two-person team if they have a lift gate and a heavy duty dolly with the big tires, which is what we use. We get ours from Tractor Supply. I want to say they're $170, but they are worth it, believe me. They've got these big tires on there. And what's great about that is we can back that truck up to a garage, for example, that has a heavy piano. And one guy can take that dolly, put it underneath the piano, ratchet strap it in place, pick it up enough to swing it around, get it on that lift gate or slide it in place, lift it up, push it in place, ratchet strap it, and go. Good luck doing that with one person and a dump truck. I am sure someone out there can do it. I'm not suggesting it's not possible, but it's much harder and it's not safe. It's a good way to hurt your back and it's a liability to the business. Okay, the downsides that no one talks about, it's higher upfront cost. A brand new, let's go apples for apples here, a brand new box truck, 20-foot lift gate today is going to run you minimum 80, maybe $100,000. So it's a significant jump from a brand new dump trailer that you can get for $15,000 to $20,000. So big, big difference in terms of the upfront costs. It's harder to unload manually. If you have a dump truck or dump trailer, you just press a button and it unloads. Okay, another downside, repairs can be very costly. If you have a major issue with one of your trucks, it is a significant expense. Almost nothing is less than $2,000 these days versus a dump trailer. It is much easier to maintain, very few repairs because there's almost no moving parts. So the height clearance can sometimes be an issue, as you can imagine. Commercial insurance can be very expensive. There was a time that our commercial insurance was one of our, I believe was our second largest line item behind our employees. Now, we were able to get that dramatically reduced, but for a lot of people out there today, especially in places like Florida, commercial insurance can be extremely expensive. It's not ideal for heavy, loose debris. We do not want to put bricks, construction debris, dirt inside of our box truck, but you can do that all day long in a dump truck or a dump trailer. It also requires dedicated parking space. You need a big parking spot to get a 20-foot box truck in there safely. It can also be overkill for a brand new operator. If you're brand new, you don't need to spend $80,000 to $100,000 on a brand new box truck. So let's do a quick side-by-side, a box truck versus a dump trailer. The startup cost for a dump trailer, low. As I mentioned, 15 to 20,000 versus high on a box truck, 80 to 100,000. The capacity on a dump trailer is much more limited than it is for a box truck. So even if you said, yeah, but I've got an 8 by 20 by 4 foot sides with my dump trailer, that's great, but I'm going to do double that with my box trucks because it is 8 feet tall. It's double the capacity. The unloading speed, much faster with a dump trailer. You press a button and you empty it. But remember, again, if you have that and you've got a busy day and you do 3 different runs, that still is going to be probably 3 hours minimum just going back and forth, not mentioning the waiting times of having to wait to get in and also waiting to get on the scales. So you can easily spend 3 or 4 hours a day just going back and forth to the landfill. Manually unloading your box truck is going to be more time consuming. However, you only have to do it once a day, and that's usually in the morning. Guys, if you are unloading that box truck in the middle of the day, get ready because you're going to have a great day. For us, that represents at least $3,700 in revenue, if not 4,000 or more. So we are excited when one of our guys says, hey, we're at the landfill and it's only noon or 2 p.m. That's fantastic. We know that one truck is going to do $3,500 to $4,000 that day. Okay, branding, very minimal on a dump trailer, but for a box truck, you've got a moving billboard, full wrap. Professional image varies, but I would say it's certainly more professional with a box truck. The heavy debris is outstanding for a dump trailer, not so much. You're very limited with a box truck. Furniture and donations are going to be exposed, much easier to beat up, to scratch, to break inside of a dump trailer versus a box truck where it's protected. Labor efficiency for a dump trailer, it's much higher effort because you don't have that lift gate. With a box truck with a lift gate, it is much easier. You're much more efficient with your labor because it's taking all that heavy lifting off of your guys and girls. Okay, scaling potential, caps early with a dump trailer versus a box truck, you have plenty of room to grow. We've got a box truck here that we've had for several years. It's got over 200,000 miles and it is still going strong. Maintenance is the key. I think you guys know that, but just a friendly reminder, make sure you are maintaining that vehicle. Whether you have an in-house mechanic or take it somewhere, you need to be servicing those vehicles regularly, as in like every 5,000 miles if you can, because that is going to be the lifeline of your vehicle. Okay, so best use case, dirt, demo, and concrete with your dump trailer, volume and full routes for your box truck. Okay, so what should you buy based on your stage? Okay, so if you're just starting off and you're doing between $0 to $20,000 a month, a truck and a trailer can make the most sense. In fact, it is what I would do. I would get a standard pickup truck, nothing crazy, 3/4 ton, 1 ton, and I would get if my budget was tight, I would start off with a standard trailer. I would pay cash for it and I would start off as lean as possible. I'd save up, then I'd get me a nice dump trailer. Okay, keep your overhead low, prove demand first, focus on reviews, photos, and pricing. Really build up the credibility of your business. As you're growing, once you pass that $20,000 a month stage, now you're doing between 20 and 50,000 a month is when you want to consider upgrading to a box truck. Track your route efficiency, level up your branding and the trust. That level up in the branding yields more trust. Now, when you get to the stage where you are scaling your business, you're doing 50 to 100,000 or more, box trucks are a huge advantage. Okay. Add equipment by service mix, meaning what if you start doing a lot more demolition? What if you start doing more hauling? There's so many facets to this business. You might get into dumpster rentals. So really take a look at the equipment you need based on the service mix that you have. So if you're growing new divisions of your business, then look at that additional equipment. But don't get too ahead of things. Do not take on excess debt unless you absolutely have to. I would always suggest that you grow and you stay lean and mean and you save your money and you pay cash as much as you can. Now, should you go out there and buy a brand new vehicle and pay 80,000 in cash? I'm not suggesting that, but I am suggesting that as much as you can pay cash, you want to build around profit centers, not ego, not your gut. Make sure this is a profitable business, profitable service line before you go out there and double down on any type of equipment or service lines. Okay, so this is a fun one. This one I talk about often is what would I do if I started over today? I would start lean. I would think ahead. I would start with a truck, as I mentioned, and a trailer, not even a dump trailer. But just remember, don't buy gear just because everyone else does. If you're tight on cash, start with a reliable truck and trailer. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy, just get started. As I mentioned, people don't care if you show up and you have got a refurbished hearse or an ambulance or an old hoopty truck and a trailer. When you're just getting started, people understand that. But as you grow, you can mature your business, mature your vehicles and your equipment, no problem. If you've got cash in the demand, now is when you want to invest in a box truck with a lift gate. It is truly a force multiplier. General junk removal scales better on box trucks, but remember, you want to focus on those higher ticket items. The more you've been established, the less you want to do paid ads for single items. You don't want to be out there chasing a single couch and a love seat. Those should really be incidental jobs that you go do, not intentional. We don't advertise, we don't use paid ads to go after small jobs like that because it's really a waste of time and money for us. It makes far more sense to deploy that two-person team to go out there and do a garage clean out and go do an office clean out versus having a two-person team going to 4 or 5 different places that day, feeling busy, but they're only doing these small jobs. Every job they get to is $150, $200. By the end of the day, you have really spent more money than you brought in, but you feel good. You had a busy day. Your guys were productive or you were productive. But if you're not profitable, that's all that matters. Make sure you are chasing the right metrics, and that is profitability, not gross revenue. Demo, concrete, brush, and dirt. Dump trailers still earn their spot there. Those are great when you're doing those. We still have a dump truck and we use it exclusively for those kind of jobs. The best setup is the one that makes you more money with less wasted time. So here's the takeaway. Don't buy equipment, build a system. Your truck is only one part of the business. Equipment should support your strategy. Pricing, marketing, reviews, dispatch, and ops matter more. Start with what you can afford, upgrade when the math proves it. When you have the money, upgrade. Okay? Don't go into mountains of debt trying to look like you're the big dog. Make sure that you're being very financially responsible because otherwise you may feel good now, but in 5 years, 10 years, all that debt's going to accumulate. And you're going to be scratching your head going, where did the money go? Well, it went to all those debts that you're paying, all that interest you're paying. Okay, if you want the real playbook that we have put together, go to junkraider.com/playbook. You'll see all the assets we've built to help you get your business running with as little friction as possible. You're going to find them easy to engage with, super helpful. These are comprehensive documents that are going to help you grow your business. And if you haven't already, check us out on the school platform at Junk Raider University. I hope you got something great out of it. Leave me a comment. I'm happy to answer your questions. If I can be a resource, let me know, and I will see you next time.